Welcome back to WP Sports Desk. The Pioneers lost a rough one at home last week against Kane, but have a shot at redemption in tomorrow's homecoming game. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Let's talk about recapping last week's game against Kane. Wyatt, start us off.
Well, you know, we had it here at Whiteman Stadium. We lost 24-13, and you know what? A lot of things were disproportional when you look at the stats. We got a graphic here that shows when you look at the penalties, Pioneers had 18 separate penalties for 138 yards. And we'll take a look at it right now. They also had 238 pass yards to Kane's 143, but for a team like the Pioneers who like to rush the ball, outrushed 232-72, you're not going to win ball games when you're getting out-rushed like that against a guy like Ryan Matthews.
And that right there is the stat that, not to cut you off, Chris, but that's the stat right there that stands out the most to me, the rushing comparison. How the consecutive weeks not hitting the century mark in rushing when the Pioneers have been a predominantly rushing-led team in the years past, nothing is going to happen.
Now, plain and simple, the key word is reliable. James Waldron, we don't have a reliable quarterback. James Waldron threw 2 picks, one being a costly pick 6. Now, DeMarco came and did a great job as quarterback, not turning the ball over. But this takes him away from the threat that he is on the outside as a receiver. Kane didn't game plan to have DeMarco as quarterback. They game plan to have him as receiver. So when DeMarco's at quarterback, Kane said, okay, all we have to do is contain him in the run and worry about Malcolm Robinson on the outside. And they did just that, holding Malcolm Robinson 4 catches, 55 yards.
Justin, you had the call. What did you see?
Well, it's tough. I mean, really it came down to fundamental stuff. I don't think the play calling was there. The play calling isn't allowing the players on the roster to succeed. There's a ton of talent on the roster top to bottom. Crazy athletes like Malcolm Robinson and DeMarco. As you see, DeMarco is already playing multiple positions. Second season of him doing that. If the play calling is there, it allows these players to succeed and fulfill their potential. And coming down to it, the fundamentals too. You saw the penalty counter. How much yards they gave up. A lot of those were crucial penalties, for sure.
Now, clearly offense was a problem, specifically in the quarterback position. Let's keep it on the offense and talk about what improvements need to be made in order for William Patterson to even have a shot for tomorrow going into homecoming Montclair.
Like I just said, they struggle against Montclair. That's something they struggled in the past. And you go back to last year, they definitely struggled then. But like I said just now, it's the play calling. They had to switch it up. I said it last week too. Even though the game plan worked in week 1, it didn't work in week 2 or week 4. They have to get it together.
I don't think it's the game plan as much as it is a lack in execution. They're doing a good job of trying to get the ball to their playmakers, but the playmakers aren't making plays. So when you put yourself in the shoes of Jerry Flora, where you're drawing up screens for Malcolm Robinson, you get him the ball, you give him 5 yards of space and make a move. When you're not making a move, when you're not creating space for yourself, obviously the offense is struggling. So how do you get your players to flat out play better? I mean,
Well, you see,
here's what we're working with.
This is where I disagree with you, Dylan, and this is where the Pioneers, I think, have been going wrong for the past couple of years. When you put 5 wide receivers out on a field at any time, all I'm saying is you're trying to spread the ball out. You're not running a spread offense. Waldron isn't stepping back here and throwing the ball 35 times, which I think should happen if you have 5 receivers out there. They are literally giving Waldron the ball, taking 1 step, and he's going to run forward and for these quarterback draws. That's not an offense. When you're spreading the ball, these guys will go man-to-man on the outside, 5 wide.
And that's what I'm talking about, how they're doing a good job of isolating.
They're going to pack the box with 6 other guys, and they're going to stop you every single time because they know what's coming.
Well, my thinking is he thinks by putting so many receivers on the field, you spread the field out wide and you allow a run up the gut.
But see, when
it's not working.
It doesn't work. That's why they have to change the game plan. They have to bring some variety, spice it up a little bit, because that kind of play calling does work. But if that's the only thing you run 4 or 5 plays, it's not going to work because people are going to catch on.
Right. So can we agree maybe it's a combination then? It's a lack of execution and maybe a potential change?
Execution is the main thing that we need to talk about, because last year William Patterson was 0 for 15 in 3rd down conversions against Montclair. So going forward, they can't have that, because that means the defense is going to be on the field just like Rowan. And we know what happened then.
Well, yeah, and the defense last year let up 5 rushing touchdowns against Montclair too.
Yeah. Now, when you have offensive struggles, it's hard to win football games. When you've got injuries on top of that, it makes it even harder. Kasim Henry's out. Chris, tell me about what that's going to mean for the Pioneers. And, we're just getting hurt, and that's just not working.
Luckily, I talked to Kasim yesterday. His injury is not a season-ending injury.
Well,
it's a partial tear in his knee. I believe he said PCL. He should only be out for 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Backup running back, 3rd-string freshman, Akil Daniels-Lundy is the guy to step up.
Okay.
He had a great week of practice. He knows the plays. He knows what he has to do. He knows his role. And hopefully he can come forward for us.
Any Craig Kimbrough sightings in the near future?
Craig, running back, no. Craig staying at defense. Okay. They moved Kyle Fanning, linebacker, over back to running back. He started camp as running back.
Okay.
And he knows the plays as well. And he was running with the 2s yesterday. So expect to see him in there too.
Well,
Right.
this is a point in the offense where I think they need to improve on. When you got a couple of running backs like Lundy, I think they got to put him back there and run with a fullback ahead of him and just run the ball. Last year they had Deanna, Darius Kersey, and Dwayne Dabney, and they would run the ball out of the I formation.
Yeah, but it's apples to oranges here. You got to realize Dabney, Deanna, and Kersey all got NFL Combine invites. So,
But it's still a system
it's such
that
a
worked.
Fall off though.
It's
in the
still a system
production.
that worked.
Remember
for
Darius
the
Kersey
team.
against Salisbury last year though? The animal he was in that game where he had like 3 touchdowns of over 80 yards or something. You know what I'm
Dabney
saying?
had a big run in that game too.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. And it's just, there's a big fall off from the talent they had in the backfield last year. Is really my thinking.
So I got one more question for us. Montclair, homecoming, proportions huge. Justin, tell me, how big is this game coming?
This is the biggest game of the season. It's a make or break point. I know it's only the 4th game, but there's a hell of a difference between 1-3 and 2-2. That's all I gotta say.
I mean, 22-year win drought versus the Route 46 rival. And the way the season's going right now, it's really, really tough for me to be optimistic about the Pioneers' chances. I'm going to go 31-14 Montclair.
Okay.
And I can tell you, Montclair's got a fantastic run game. But William Pat's defense has been playing well against the run. They're going to stack the box. Defense is not what I'm worried about. It's Montclair's defense that you got to be worried about. William Pat's only put up 7 points last year. I look to the offense right now to have a much better day.
I think Justin said it best. This is their biggest game of the season. It's only the 4th game, but there's a difference between 2-2 and 1-3.
Yeah. Right.
Those are 2 totally different directions you want your season to go in. 2-2 could give them momentum. It's a conference win.
They're still in the NJAC.
They're still in the NJAC, and they're playing Frostburg next week on the road.
Right.
So if they win this game, they're having so much momentum
So
going into
much
next
momentum.
week's game.
Right, because like you said, tough schedule coming up.
Right.
So Pioneers really need some energy moving forward here. Thank you, fellas. That'll about do it for us here. And for an update with the rest of the WP Athletics, we have Dante Vocaturo. Dante?
Thanks, Mason. After a tough loss to Rowan over the weekend, Pioneers men's soccer bounced back, handing Ramapo their first loss on the season on Wednesday, 2-0. 2 second-half goals helped out freshman Kyle Quigley, who had 6 saves in goal for the shutout. The 5-4-1 Pioneers traveled to New Jersey City University on Saturday, October 1st. On the other side of the pitch, women's soccer continues to roll with a 6-2 win at Ramapo College on September 28th. The Pioneers pulled away late with 4 goals in the final 30 minutes, outshooting Ramapo 23-8 on the day. The team is 6-2-1 going on the season and plays their homecoming game against NJCU on the 1st of October. In volleyball, the Pioneers spiked a potential comeback story from NJCU, winning a rowdy 5-set match. Tied 9-9 in the 5th set, the team responded with 6 of the final 7 points to secure the win. Also, a follow from last week's news, Aaron Roach is officially done for the season with a torn ACL and a partially torn MCL. The Pioneers head into October 8-4 and battle Mount St. Mary's College on Saturday, October 1st.
Thank you, Dante. Right now, we have to go to a short break. Stay tuned for football with Greg and the gang coming up next.